everyone, Norm here from Tested at Bay Area Maker Faire 2023, and I'm here with Ed.
Steamboat Ed.
Steamboat Ed. You guys are from the Sebastopol makers.
Correct.
And you have on display some of your designs. They look 3D printed. Are these 3D printed tools?
Yes.
Tell me about these 3D printed, so a drill press, a die filer. Tell me about these tools.
Well, I decided when I got into 3D printing that there are tools lacking on a small workbench for people who are getting into this for the first time. A lot of people use a thing called a router to deburr the edges that come off the printer, but when you get to a corner with an outside radius, it's kind of hard. So I developed the die filer, and normally this would not be a popsicle stick, but a file. And you put a small file in upside down so it's stroking down, and then you can deburr apart with this thing. And we only have one wall wart, so from there we can do the, I'm not sure about the drill press. I want to kind of not run it. You can't see it without a drill bit in it. But this is a common kit you can get from Amazon for about $9 or $10. And it includes a motor, the chuck, the adapter to attach to the motor, and you get a chuck key and a little set of drill bits and 2 wires. That's it. And so it's designed so you can make your own hand drill. But I shake like a leaf. I've got trimmer and all that. So I designed a drill press that will hold it. And let's see, I've got this fastened down, but the table swivels and it goes up and down. And then you can...
Oh, look at that motion, so smooth.
Yeah, and the prototype used a rubber band back here for the return, but I went to Harbor Freight and got a box of springs for $5, and they seem to work pretty good. And then I found one cool way to attach this thing was just to use a crimp-on ring connector.
Oh, I see that. Yeah.
And it made it so much simpler. The hardest part was trying to find a needle threader to get the rope through there. Once I figured that out, it was easy. So
and
there
just
it
an
is.
Extruded bar, and then
It's just 80/20.
Yeah.
And the controller, these are those little. Well, I'll show the camera there. They're 3 for $10 on Amazon. They blow up constantly, but they're so cheap. Who cares? It would be nice to have a better controller, but yeah, I'm cheap. And so there's the drill press.
Any recommendations on materials for people to print this out of for stability?
I use nothing but PLA.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh.
And I suppose if you wanted to, you could go to a tougher material, but why bother?
If it works, yeah.
Yeah. And then I suppose...
Yeah, what are these guys?
Okay, 40 years ago, like a damn fool, I got a patent on this. But I couldn't afford to make it. You know, it costs $5,000 per die, per part, to make something like that.
Tooling, right.
Yeah, so I just basically let the patent lapse, and that was the end of it. And then 3D printing came along, and I thought, I could finally make these things. And so what it is, it's not a clamp. It's the patent calls a jig for holding members in radial array. And so if you're building a model boat that has a keel, or a model airplane that has a whatever you call it, a keel, and you want to put the ribs on at right angles so they don't look all cattywampus, then you slide this over the top, and it holds everything up while the glue dries. Of course, this was long before CA, but I mean, it worked good for that.
And you're
too.
holding things perfectly perpendicular.
Yeah. And so, yeah.
And
then,
scalable for different intersections.
Yeah, and you could probably water jet cut these out of steel and do welding with them and all kinds of stuff.
Wow.
And it makes a good widget too, just a
very
fidgety
satisfying.
thing. Yeah, very satisfying. Once I figured out 4, then I went ahead and I redesigned it for 3, 5, and 6. Beyond that, it gets kind of crowded, getting the bolts in it like that.
Well, you talk about making boats. Well, you have a boat right here.
So I went looking. I'm in a model boat club, Redwood Empire Model Shipwrights. They make gorgeous stuff, museum quality stuff. And then, well, you know what they say, every family's got one, and in my family, I'm it. And so I wanted a rowboat. And I went looking for a radio control rowboat kit. I couldn't find one, so I made one, and that's what this is. And then I haven't quite finished working this out yet. But again, I got these surplus, 25 of them for 10 bucks, and it's a little motor that runs an electric car. And it's a motor, worm gear, and then it runs this thing. And my crazy idea was to steer it, I would tilt this back and forth, which determines how much water you get with each oar. And meanwhile, it's got a rudder until I work that out. So there's that. And then I thought, well, why have one rower when you can have more and get a little better propulsion? So I dreamed up the modular rowboat. And so I kind of went nuts, and I figured out that you could make the hull in sections. And I used, each bulkhead has a half-round channel in it, so you can use TPU flexible filament as a gasket. And so it's the right size for the filament. Then you bolt them together. And in the process of getting this thing together, I came across a problem that everyone has with small fasteners. And when you've got a little fastener, and I'm using a lot of M3s. You want to, get them in there, and you shake, and you're trying to do that, and it's a pain. So what I came up with is you take the fastener, you put it in this guy here. Then you slide one of these on a hex key. Let's see if I can get it to go in there. Then you jam that down on it.
Oh, locks it in and it holds your bolt.
Yeah. And so I'm hoping to license this, and I suppose ultimately I could manufacture it. But there you are. Yeah. And so I call them captivators. My friend Lee Felsenstein named them for me. I've showed him.
And they release super easily, but they
hold. You just pull back like that. Yeah.
Tightly enough. It's like a little pair of helping hands right there.
Yeah. And you can work upside down and get it started, and the key doesn't fall out.
Yeah.
Like that. Yeah. So that's my latest crazy idea. Oh, and for anybody with a Bridgeport, it takes forever to run the depth screw up and down. And so with one of these, it's 2 pieces of plastic threaded half 20, which is a common thread on most milling machines, and 2 bicycle links. And you take a flat blade screwdriver, you pop one link off, and then this thing will wrap around the screw. You turn it around, put the other link on, and then you blast this with an air nozzle, and it goes. And so I call it a turbo nut. And the only thing you don't want to do when you Google turbo nut, you don't want to use the Urban Dictionary, because that'll take you somewhere else. And,
good advice, Ed.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's me. That's what I do. I design weird stuff. Any one of these links will take you to printables. I just passed 90 things and that I've designed over the last 5 years.
I love that you're taking your decades of machining experience, making things accessible, and it really feels like you enjoy the fact that the hardware can be cheap, that they're affordable, and you're giving people the power to use the tools that they may be buying today, like 3D printers, to make other tools.
Oh, here's another thing. It's kind of not obvious, and I didn't bring any paperwork for it, but if you have an arbor press, and you put this on an arbor press, and then it holds tooling. So if you're working on something on an arbor press, you hold the piece you're working on, you hold the tool, and then with your third hand you work the lever, right? So this is one hand,
right.
And it's just this was before I went metric, but you can put anything threaded goes in there, and there you go. And with the thumb screws, you can have it adjust for any size arbor you've got on an arbor press. I call that a press pal.
Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Sure.
You guys are from the Surpassable Makers community. We'll include details for where people can find more about the group as well as your wonderful designs.
Well, thank you very much.
Have a wonderful Maker Faire.
Thank you so much for watching that video. Your support allows us to make more of this great content. If you'd like to help us on a deeper level even, head over to tested-store.com because we've got stickers. Who doesn't love stickers? Our anime-inspired Tested logo in Japanese. Follow the process, not the plan. It's not a process. It's not a problem to solve, it's a process to manage. Other aphorisms that have come from my mouth. And we have just made a full set of our demerit badges in sticker form. So you can cover your toolbox with all of your screw-ups and celebrate it with other makers. Thank you guys so much. See you next time.